I am not doing this. I am not the one making this world, this new world that we've introduced, this world of computing. I am not making it the way that I'm about to tell you about how it is, which is not a great sentence, but it's the best I came up with. It's not me, it's just this way, let me tell you. Okay, so it's funny things happen on your computer. It's not a hacker, right? It's never a hacker, right? Right? Unless you're a target. Because, let's think about that question. Because trusting is faster. Okay, that's what this comes down to. Consider the two statements. It's not a hacker, and I trust the process. Okay, so why do you think it's not a hacker? You have funny business happening on your computer? I'm going to tell you, it happened to me. It just happened to me since the last time I went live. It does not happen to me very often. But this was a particular... Okay, we'll get to that. Why is it not a hacker? Maybe you're too small a target, right? We're all too small to be hacked. Unless you know it, unless you've got something, right? I heard, oh man, I'm not going to put this in the link, but go Google this. How did they figure out that there was like a Bitcoin hacking operation that was based on the LastPass hack? They figured out that all these Bitcoiners, people with lots of money in Bitcoin, were all getting hacked, and they couldn't figure out what they had in common. And it turned out that they all used LastPass, and then obviously LastPass got hacked. And Google it. I'm not going to cite it. You don't need me to do that. So you're a target if you've got a bunch of Bitcoin, and if you're not using a badass password on your password manager, and you've got a bunch of money in Bitcoin that's so easy to steal, man, come on. It's not that I don't feel bad for you. There was that one guy who forgot his Bitcoin wallet password, and he had 200-300 million. All right, we can't talk about this. This is upsetting to these people. We don't want to trigger anybody. Okay, maybe we're all too small a target. Usually when we say, "Oh, funny business on my computer," but it's not a hacker. Maybe there aren't that many hackers. See, that's how I know you haven't thought about this. You haven't been thinking. It's not how many hackers there are. It's how many hacks, or how many autonomous programs are running. How many were spawned, not how many hackers spawned them. It's a decision. Computing does not put any limit on how many times. The physics of computing does, and how much you can afford to deploy. That does. Economics puts a limit on how many copies of your autonomous hacking program you can deploy into the world, but not how many hackers. Maybe we say it's money. Physics and money, physics and economics. That's what limits how many copies of a program are crawling around the internet looking for a vulnerability with an exploit in tow. But it's not how many hackers. So you can't say it's not a hacker because there aren't that many hackers. Maybe you could say because of economics. Maybe you can say because of physics. But then, is that really what you meant? I didn't think so. Okay, so I trust the process. What process? You trust everything? No, but I trust implicitly everything I'm using. Okay, why is that? Is it because it seems trustworthy? How does it seem? Well, I guess when you use typical tools and mass-produced software and hardware, and nothing bad that you've heard of is happening to everyone else, that's grounds for trust. That's some evidence that something is trustworthy. Although there's always the incentive to keep these things on the down low, to not spread the word. Either if you're the company with the customers who got hacked, or if you're the poor sap who got hacked, and maybe you're embarrassed because you got hacked. It happens. Don't be embarrassed. But I know you will be. Maybe it's because what I think is the real problem. Distrusting entails work. If you don't trust it, it's going to be hard. You got to do a bunch of stuff, or stop using the cool thing. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to stop using the cool thing while we wait and do a bunch of, or wait or do a bunch of work, or both. Okay. Let me tell you what happened to me. And I was going to say I didn't plan this, but of course I didn't plan it. Why do I feel the need to say that? I don't know. It's because it's the second segment, and I didn't know that I was going to be talking about this. Okay, so yesterday after the segment went live, I went to produce it. I had the live segment was good, but I hit the end button too early, and so I had to upload the OBS video. If you're in podcasting, and you know what I'm talking about, but anyway, I cut myself off at the end of the file, at the end of the live stream, and so that made the live stream. It's a YouTube thing. The timing is hard to get right, and I was out of my rhythm, out of my element, so I had to upload the OBS video instead, and blah blah blah. You don't care. Why does it matter? Why am I telling you? I got home. I went out. Okay, finished. Went out to do something. Came back and the file was gone. Listen to me. Listen to me. I have done, I think, something like 238 YouTube videos, all of which using OBS. It has never happened. Okay, it's just never happened. I have a good backup process. I have a workflow. I have all this. Never have I ever. And I mean, it wasn't just gone. I mean, it was gone. Now, I recovered it from a backup. Thankfully, I was doing that. But, okay, I was just like, what the hell happened? I don't accidentally delete things. Or do I? Okay, whatever. I recovered it. Then, okay, the next day, I'm looking through my times.org file, which is how I keep track of my work hours and organize and something's gone from that. A section that I use, a report that I use every day. The section is literally called Today. That's how frequently I use it. I didn't damage the text file. That part of the file was gone. Then I go to continue my work, despite all of this harassment from the universe, and my indentation is funny in org mode in Emacs. Org mode is a subtool, a subset of programs for Emacs, which is my text editor, although it's not a real text editor. It's more like an operating system. But my indentation was funny. It didn't do what it was supposed to do. It wasn't. I've been doing this for years. The hell? What? So I started to think. And then the last straw, my electric pair. My electric pair mode wasn't working. All right, that's it. There's something going on here. What happened to I swear, the first thing that I think, just for a fraction of a second, because I'm sort of, I have a fretful temperament. What happened to my brain? It's like being gaslit, It's but gaslit by some neurological something's happening. Like something happened in the last 4 hours, 12 hours. A neurological thing started. This is it, man. You're gonna start. No, and then I was like, no, man. Like, I'm okay. I sound fine. Nothing else is happening. So I'm gonna write these things down. That's why I have them written down. I'm gonna write them down and work my way through to see how many real mysteries are here. Like, is there really something going on? It's not a hacker, but I think that. But why? I'll get to that. Recent priming is what we'll call it. Okay, so the missing OBS file, I figured out that I very well might have hit the delete immediately key binding when I normally just hit the delete send to the trash bin key binding. That's a plausible explanation. I could have done that. I was out of my rhythm yesterday. First segment of a new podcast sort of thing. Maybe and I was in a hurry. I was definitely in a hurry at the end when I would have maybe done this. Okay, so let's say that mystery is solved. The missing section of the report, same sort of thing. I looked through the key bindings in Emacs. Like, could I have hit some things and I found? Oh, and that was the other thing. I found where the section went. See, that's crucial. It went to an archive file, which I never do, but I must have done this accidentally by hitting the wrong key binding. It's Emacs. I mean, the key bindings are kind of part of the whole game, and I'm sure I could have made that mistake. Okay, the electric pair thing I figured out was just what is electric pair? In Emacs, and you get this automatically in a lot of IDEs and editors, but in Emacs, it's called electric pair mode. You type a parenthesis, open parenthesis, and you automatically get a close. Type an open greater than, you automatically get a less. You type a less than, you get a greater than to enclose things. So it's like you sort of set your editor. So when you're always going to be closing things that you open, things like quotes. It doesn't work. I have electric quote mode for quotes, but parentheses and that sort of stuff. electric pair mode is what does that. And now my parenthesis in particular, my open parenthesis was not yielding a closed parenthesis. Well, I figured out, I tested around, I noticed like, oh, it's working in some parts of the file, not other parts of the file. And I figured out it doesn't work in lists that have like a one and then a closed parenthesis. I mean, it works. It's just misunderstanding the list. It gets confused. Okay, it's confused. That's totally solved. That one is definitely solved. I don't have a video of myself typing the wrong keys. That was the first two things that made me puzzled. But that third thing I can reproduce, so I can solve that mystery. This is how this world is, okay? Computing is like this. This is not me. It's probably me. Okay, the last one is the strange headline indentation. I didn't find a real mechanism that could have. Am I giving you too much detail? Okay, that one I couldn't quite tick off the list completely. But it's not a hacker, right? It's just these things that I was in a slightly elevated state, and I made some mistakes that had no consequences except but before I worked through that list of mysteries, I couldn't help it. I was like, wait, is this it? I mean, I don't know. I know I'm not a target. There's no value. Like, you're not going to get any money from me. You can't get blood from a stone. But people hack for other reasons, and they don't necessarily hack you because they know you have money. They might just, be spamming your type of profile because they have an exploit, and you have a vulnerability, and those go together like yin and yang. Okay. Well, why else might I have been worried about hacking? Okay, so Django Chat, my current favorite podcast because I'm building a website and Django is awesome. Durbin, who's a guy, was on Django Chat on May 12th, 2021, and he mentioned Alex Birsan, I think that's how you say his last name, Birsan's Medium article on dependency confusion, how I hacked into Apple, Microsoft, and dozens of other companies. Now, I wasn't sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, because of something I did, the dependency confusion must have now led to all these hacks. It was more like, yet again, I have encountered strong evidence in the world of computing that trust is an effing problem. I keep coming back to this. I'll tell you where in just a minute here. You can find out more about my coming back to. So the basic idea of dependency confusion is if a company's code has a mix of public and private dependencies, that means in the code they've written lines that say, hey, in order to install this program, we have to go get this other program that we use as part of it. That's a dependency. And oftentimes, these dependencies are on public repositories, public websites that store the code, so we can just go download it and you just specify it by name and version number if you want. And so if a company's code has a mix of public and private dependencies, so that means that some of the programs you have to fetch in order to install the main program are on your own computer or in your own corporate network, and some of them are on a public website that stores open source code. If you have both of those things and you don't specify, and your software doesn't specify where each dependency is supposed to come from, whether it's supposed to come from in-house or from the public repository, then somebody, a bad actor, can go to the public repository, claim the name that you're using for your private dependency, and claim it on the public repository, and then fill it with bad code, fill it with malicious code. Okay, so your program says, I'm going to find typing fast dependency, typing fast, typing_fast, the dependency that makes your typing go faster. And but we built that here. We built that here at Acmeco. And so first go get it from our server on our network in the building, and then go to Node NPM or wherever you're going to go, your public repository, to get these other things. Except if you don't specify that the Type Faster program is in-house, what if somebody uses that name on the public repository and puts whatever code they want? Then your program is dumb, and it's going to say, okay, I found it. If it looks at the public repository before it looks inside your network for that dependency to install, then it's going to download whatever that person put up there. Exactly the same name, even version number. And that's a big vulnerability. And this guy, Alex Birsan, who's a pen tester and does this for a living, definitely succeeded in compromising like all the big companies. Oh, I should. I've got the thing on the. Yeah, here's the. If you're on the YouTube channel, this is the article. It's on Medium, and linked. It'll be linked in the notes. Okay, so the one way of the two ways that this hack can fail is, on the one hand, if when you write your code, you specify where it's supposed to come from, public or private repositories. And second is if your code checks private repositories first for all the dependencies and then goes public for the ones it can't find, then the ones in the public repository will never get checked because it'll already be found in-house. Okay, that's the sort of thing. There's a million articles like this, but this one was pretty impressive because it seemed to be a gaping hole in like all the big companies at the time that he wrote about it or made the discovery in 2020, 2021, that time frame. Trust. Why? We're trusting. What we're doing is, it's like, okay, one problem with software is invisibility. We can't see what computers are doing except through many layers of trusted programs. You can't watch the electrons or the changes in voltages on the wires. You can't look in there. You feel like you can. If you know what you're doing, you can run programs upon programs upon programs. Like there's not, you're never really depending on one program when you run a computer. You're layer upon layer upon layer upon layer before it gets to you and your eyes and your brain that can understand the output, the input and the output. That's a lot of trust, man. It's like, I mean, we trust a similarly long list of phenomena is, I mean, when you biologically, like you don't walk around thinking, oh my gosh, I think my biochemistry is going to fail me today, or some part of my immune system is going to fail. Some people, I guess, on the immune system, maybe that's a bad example. I don't walk around thinking, oh man, my knee joint with no prior history is just going to suddenly give out, or my it's not a perfect analogy, but we have to do that with software. We have to. But the difference is nature made us. We made software. Nature, the blind watchmaker, does not have a bunch of, opportunities for malicious intent to be expressed. It doesn't even have the malicious intent. Now, if you've had a bad life, maybe you think nature has plenty of malicious intent. I don't think you can easily defend that against, what am I doing here? Philosophy? No, we're not doing that. It's too tempting to me. But we do have to deal with all kinds of opportunities for the expression of malicious intent in software whenever we use it. Trusting is faster. We don't want to do the work. I don't. Most people don't. You get the point. But this is the way the world is. I keep coming across this. Ken Thompson's Reflections on Trusting Trust, 1984. Check that out. Also, Retrace Segment 4, Retrace Segment 15, and Retrace Segment 16. I keep coming back to it. I didn't choose this. The world is this way. Especially the world we've added to the world. The computing world that we've added to the world in the last 50 to 70 years is this way. It's not my fault that I have to keep talking about it. Co2, Computer Control, what the hell is it called? Code Outsider 2, Segment 2, Friday, February 2nd, 2024. Started at 1:45 p.m. Eastern, signing off.